Welcome to the deep dive. We take your sources, dive in, and pull out the key knowledge you need fast.
That's right.
Today, we're looking at a really influential book, Robert Kiyosaki and Sharon Lecter's Rich Dad, Poor Dad.
What the rich teach their kids about money that the poor and middle class do not. Quite the title.
It is, and you, our learner, wanted to get a quick handle on its main ideas and the different ways it presents thinking about money.
Exactly. And it does this through, well, two dads in Kiyosaki's life. One was his own, educated but financially struggling, the poor dad.
And the other?
The other was his friend's dad, an entrepreneur who became wealthy, the rich dad.
And the interesting thing is, neither started super rich or super poor, right? It was more about mindset.
Precisely. Different mindsets, different philosophies about money. And that really sets up the core question the book asks.
Which is?
What did the rich teach their kids about money that others maybe don't?
Okay, let's jump right in. The book hits you immediately with these opposing views, like the love of money is the root of all evil,
That was the poor dad's view.
contrasted with the rich dad saying,
The lack of money is the root of all evil. Big difference.
huge. And the book uses this to show how the author had to think for himself, didn't he? He couldn't just accept one view.
Exactly. It forced him to compare, contrast, and choose his own path. And for you listening, that's a key takeaway right there, the value of considering different perspectives on finance. Don't just accept the first thing you hear.
Yeah, it makes you think about where your own money beliefs came from. The book then argues that most of this learning about money, it happens at home.
Right. Not really in school. That's a central point.
It challenges that whole go to school, study hard, get a safe job narrative.
It does. It suggests that advice, while maybe well-intentioned, might lead to good grades, but not necessarily, financial literacy. You could be book smart, but lack financial savvy.
Because schools just don't teach it, generally. Personal finance, investing.
Pretty much absent from the curriculum. Which is why the book argues you can have highly educated people, doctors, lawyers, whatever, who still struggle with money.
The book even kind of links this to bigger economic issues like national debt, suggesting it stems from decision makers who might also lack that financial literacy.
It does touch on that. It really pushes the idea that you need to take charge of your own financial education.
And it keeps coming back to mindset, how the two dads thought differently.
Yeah, one saved, one invested, one focused on a resume.
The other on business plans.
Right. The takeaway being that your thoughts about money actively shape your financial life.
There are some memorable stories illustrating this, like the toothpaste incident.
Oh yeah, the 9-year-old entrepreneurs
Yeah.
trying to make lead tubes into nickels.
That was a toothpaste.
Now-
Looking toothpaste from scratch.
Right, toothpaste with milk cartons and a hibachi grill. Classic kid stuff.
But then they get busted for basically counterfeiting. Dreams dashed.
But the lesson wasn't just don't break the law. It was how the poor dad reacted. Exactly. He saw it as a learning moment, encouraged them not to quit. It frames failure as, well, education, which is a powerful idea.
Definitely. Then there's that other story, working for the rich dad for just 10 cents an hour.
Cleaning shelves in his store? Understandably, Kiyosaki got frustrated, wanted to quit.
But that was the point, wasn't it?
It was. Rich Dad apparently expected him to get mad. He used that low pay, that feeling of unfairness, as a teaching tool.
Teaching what, exactly?
To stop blaming others, the boss, the low pay, and realize you have the power to change things, to seek better opportunities or create your own. It's about taking responsibility for your financial situation.
And it highlights that core difference again, working for money.
Versus having money work for you. That's the Rich Dad's philosophy.
Why do most people stay in the first category, according to the book?
Fear, mostly.
Right.
Fear of bills, of getting fired, of not having enough. That fear keeps people trapped in the cycle, working for a paycheck.
And then taxes hit. That realization that not all the money you earn is money you keep.
Oh yeah, income tax, sales tax, property tax, taxes on savings, even taxes when you die. It's a shock for many.
The book uses the term rat race for this cycle.
It does, like hamsters on a wheel, working harder, maybe earning more, but expenses rise too, and you're still dependent on that next paycheck, tied to the job security, the vacations, the pension, that whole package.
There's a strong emotional component too, right? Fear and desire driving decisions.
Absolutely. The fear of being without money drives you to work, then getting the paycheck brings desire for nicer things, which means you need more money, which reinforces the fear.
Yeah.
It's a loop.
So the rich dad's warning is basically, don't let money control you through these emotions. Job security can be an illusion.
Precisely. The real goal should be financial independence.
Okay, so how do you get there? This leads to maybe the most famous concept, assets versus liabilities.
The number one rule, according to the rich dad: rich people acquire assets. The poor and middle class acquire liabilities that they think are assets.
Simple definitions.
An asset puts money in your pocket. A liability takes money out of your pocket.
So things like rental properties, stocks, bonds, maybe a business you don't have to actively run every day, those are assets.
Correct. They generate income. Liabilities are things like mortgages. The house itself isn't necessarily putting cash in your pocket monthly. Car loans, credit card debt,
Yeah.
things that cost you money regularly.
The book uses cash flow diagrams to show this, right? How money flows differently for the rich versus others.
Yeah, visually showing income coming from assets versus income going out to pay for liabilities.
This all ties back to needing financial intelligence or financial aptitude.
Right. Schools teach you how to work for money professional skills,
Mm-hmm.
but not financial skills, how to manage money, protect it, make it grow, make it work for you.
And just earning more money doesn't automatically fix things if you don't have that aptitude.
Often it just leads to higher spending.
Yeah.
More income, bigger house, nicer car, higher taxes. You're still in the rat race, just maybe a fancier version of it.
The book also offers a different definition of wealth, not just net worth.
Yeah, it defines wealth as how many days you could survive financially if you stopped working today. It's about cash flow from assets covering your expenses.
So, true wealth is that independence, your assets pay your bills.
That's the goal presented: financial freedom.
And a key step is minding your own business. What does that mean?
It means focusing on building your asset column. Your profession is how you earn money to pay bills initially, but your business is your collection of income-generating assets.
So, even if you're an employee, you should be using your income to buy assets.
That's the advice. Don't confuse your profession with your business. Your business is your asset column.
Which is why that new car isn't usually an asset.
Generally, no. It depreciates the moment you drive it off the lot and costs money for insurance, gas, repairs. It takes money out of your pocket.
Okay. And related to this is how the rich handle luxuries.
The book says the rich buy luxuries last, after their asset base is generating enough income to afford them.
Whereas the poor and middle class might buy luxuries first, often on credit.
Right. Trying to look rich, but actually digging themselves deeper into debt, acquiring liabilities.
The book also talks about the power of corporations, how the rich use them.
Yeah, this gets into tax advantages and asset protection. A corporation is essentially a legal structure.
Not necessarily a big building with a sign.
No, it could just be a legal document, a file folder, but it allows different tax rules. Corporate income tax rates can be lower than high individual rates.
And certain expenses can be paid with pre-tax dollars through the corporation.
That's the idea. It requires financial knowledge to navigate, of course, but it's presented as a major tool the wealthy use.
So financial intelligence isn't just one thing, it's a combination.
Exactly. The book lists 4 key technical skills. 1. Financial literacy, understanding numbers. 2. Investing strategies, how to make money. 3. Understanding market supply and demand. 4. Knowledge of the law, tax advantages, corporate structures.
And it's the synergy, the combination of these, that really boosts your financial IQ.
Right.
Kiyosaki also developed a game, Cash H Flow.
Yes, the board game. It's designed to teach these principles experientially: how the income statement and balance sheet work together, how to spot opportunities, how money flows.
It's supposed to give you feedback on your own financial thinking patterns.
And help you practice identifying assets and getting out of the rat race in a simulated way.
Yeah.
The faster learners, apparently, are those comfortable with numbers and thinking creatively about finance.
The book pushes this idea of inventing money or creating your own luck.
Yeah, that luck isn't just random. It comes from being financially intelligent enough to recognize or create opportunities others miss.
Like the example of turning a small real estate deal into a note that generates ongoing income.
Right, creating an asset, a $40,000 note, in the example that then produces passive income, which can potentially be sheltered in a corporation. Much faster than trying to save that same $40,000 after tax from a job.
It emphasizes continuous learning, finding faster formulas for wealth.
Definitely. Learning isn't a one-time thing. He talks about learning a formula for buying foreclosures and using that repeatedly. Keep learning. Keep looking for better ways.
There's also the concept of paying yourself first, which sounds simple, but the way it's described is different.
It's not just about saving. It means allocating money to your asset column before you pay your monthly bills.
That sounds stressful. What if there isn't enough left for bills?
That's the point. It creates pressure, positive pressure, the book argues, to find ways to generate more income to cover everything. It forces you to be more financially active and, hopefully, smarter.
As opposed to paying bills first and saving whatever's left, which doesn't create that urgency.
Exactly. A little motivation there.
What about getting help? Paying professionals.
The advice is pay them well. Good accountants, attorneys, brokers, their advice can make you far more money or save you far more than their fees cost. Don't skimp on good advice.
He contrasts this with people who tip waiters well but complain about professional fees.
Right, and find advisors who are investors themselves who walk the talk.
There's a concept called Indian giving in investing mentioned too.
Yeah, it's about getting your initial investment back as quickly as possible.
So you're playing with house money after that.
Essentially. The goal isn't just ROI, return on investment, but also return of investment quickly, plus acquiring the asset itself, potentially for free in the long run.
The book uses desires, like wanting a car, as motivation for learning finance.
The story of the friend teaching his son about money using the cash flow game because his son wanted a car, turning wants into learning opportunities.
And the principle of giving, how does that fit?
The rich dad believed strongly in charity and giving. His philosophy was, if you want something, you first need to give.
Like tithing or just being generous.
Seems like both. The idea that giving, whether it's money, time, or knowledge, tends to lead to receiving more in return. Sort of a universal principle applied to finance.
So summarizing the action steps, it sounds like. Take action, don't be afraid to make offers, look for bargains, think big but start small.
Pretty much. Learn from history, understand market cycles, and act. Analysis paralysis gets you nowhere.
And the core message isn't just make more money.
No, it's about financial intelligence. The idea that it takes money to make money is, according to the book, flawed thinking. Money is an idea. Change your thinking. Change your financial reality. Start early, start small, practice.
Briefly, the book also introduces the cash flow quadrant.
Right. E for employee, S for self-employed or small business, B for big business owner, systems work for you, and I for investor, money works for you.
And the idea is that while you can achieve financial freedom in any quadrant,
The skills and leverage in the B and I quadrants often accelerate the path to wealth and freedom. It's about where your income comes from.
finally, there's that parable, the pipeline story.
Ah, yes, Ed the bucket carrier versus Bill the pipeline builder.
Ed worked hard carrying buckets of water every day for money. Consistent income, but reliant on his effort.
Like an E or S quadrant person, trading time for money.
Bill, meanwhile, worked hard too, but he was building a pipeline. Less income initially, maybe worked evenings and weekends.
Right, building a system, an asset. Like a B or I.
And eventually, Bill's pipeline was finished, and the water flowed continuously, generating income whether he was there carrying buckets or not, while Ed was still hauling buckets.
A powerful analogy for building assets that generate passive income versus relying solely on earned income from a job. Build the pipeline.
So wrapping up this deep dive into Rich Dad, Poor Dad, the main thrust seems to be get financially educated, shift your mindset from working for money to having money work for you, understand assets versus liabilities, and start building your own pipeline.
That sums it up well. It's about questioning conventional wisdom, continuous learning, and taking control of your financial future by focusing on asset accumulation.
Definitely gives you a lot to think about. So for you listening, here's a final thought. Forget just aiming for a bigger paycheck for a moment. What's one small step you could take, starting today, to begin building your own financial pipeline, however small? What could be your first asset?